Hey y'all, come on in and let's do a sewing tutorial with Leslie, and of course, that is me. Alright y'all, hope all is well with you. I am Leslie of Leslie Creations, and I am going to show you a quick project that probably take you maybe, if you're a regular sewer, maybe an hour. Less than an hour probably. Um, it just means depending on how you work it. Anyway, so I'm here. I'm getting ready to show you. I only have literally, it's about a yard of fabric. It's a design that I created because, like often, I struggle finding patterns that fit. Or when I get a pattern, I have to modify it highly because of my size. Not necessarily size, but shape. I am a extreme pear shape. So I have um, about a 20-inch difference between my waistline and my hip line. So I can't really do a lot of tops because most of the tops are usually straight up and down. And even if they have a little bit of curvature, it's not enough or it's not long enough. So I've created a lot of different patterns to fit my size, and half the time it fits other women too. Anyway, so we are here today going to show you how it's done. Um, you probably want to know what this is on my mannequin. I'll go and switch it so it's laying on my mannequin right so you can see it, so it won't look crazy to you, and I don't think it looks crazy. So let me fix that real quick. All right, so there you go. She looked better, and I'm sure the picture looks better. If you want to know, this is Bella. I call her Bella. It's the shape, not necessarily material. It's a lightweight sweater material that I used on it. And it's something I probably made several of them. I probably got 3 or something like that. I'm due for a new one. It's not going to be that one, but I'm going to get me a new one. But anyway, so back to what I'm showing you. So this material, I used only a yard, maybe a little bit over a yard, maybe a couple inches over a yard. And this is the shape of it. It's a basic tank, so it's front and back, and you can do it as just the front and back. But I like to bind my armholes and my neck hole to give stability, for longevity, looks better, lasts longer. That just happened to be what I like to do. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. But this shape is real easy. So it's not showing exaggerations. So the top fits a little bit closer, and then it kind of cascades out. So it's kind of an A-line. So I'm going to actually tilt the camera down so that you can see how the pieces look. And pretty much the front and back look the same. The only difference is the neckline. All right. Okay. Here is the front. It's about a 7 inches, roughly 7-inch difference. And that'll give you still kind of close to the neck. So if you want to drop it more, I suggest you measure from your shoulder, which is here, your shoulder point. You got to think about half an inch you're going to lose, because I'm going to do this on my serger. You're going to lose about a half an inch. So measure from the shoulder down to the point where you want it to drop. That's the only thing you would change. And you just would need a ruler that has a curve to it already. And that's what I did. So if I wanted to drop it some more, I could make it much lower if I want. But this will fit a little bit kind of close. Usually about here is where the neck would be when you wear it. So you get about 2 inches down from the neckline, 2, maybe 3. So this is the front. Has a simple little curve. You will need a double needle in your standard sewing machine. Then here is the second one. It's up much closer in the back, as you can tell. Basic armhole. Still a little bit wider. I then cut, and it's no particular length, and that's only because I'm working with literally a yard of fabric, basically, and I'm squeezing out as much of it as I can. So I have, this is a 2 1/4. This is 2 1/4. It's not a particular length. I just pulled it out, and you can see there's a dip here. So we're going to lose that. I'm not worried about that. You're not even going to see that if I use this piece. It just depends. The one thing I will make sure I do is a neckline before I worry about doing my armholes. Armholes I can turn under and do serging on it or whatever. Then I wanted a pocket. Now this is longer than what it needs to be. So what I'm going to actually end up doing is, I don't want the pocket really, really long. So it's pretty big. So I'll probably make it a little bit smaller on this side, round it a little bit more. Okay. So I don't have a particular size. I know that the pocket will not be bigger than 8 inches, because 8 inches wide is a good distance. So if you think, this is 4 right here, and this is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here, I'm making it hard. Hold on. So this is like 10 inches wide. That's a humongous pocket. I don't want a pocket that big, because that's going to cover like the whole bottom. So I'm going to actually cut it down by something like that. It's going to be about that wide. I just cut out. This was a spot that was left when I cut out the front and back. So this was the armhole area that I created. This is the armhole area that was on the fabric, so I didn't really cut it down. I just cut off the excess. So I'll fix that first, and I'll do that on camera real quick. Now I did make it longer so that when I get to my sewing machine, I will literally do this. I will fold it down to the height that I want the pocket to be, interface this portion, then fold it back like this, and serge it without cutting it apart. But what it will do is give me a binding across the top, and it'll be nice and neat and finished off, and I don't have to do no more extra work with it. But you will see that when I get to it. So I'm going to shape this up a little bit better. I moved over slightly, 1/4 inch, because I want to make sure that when I turn it under, it's not too small. Okay, I know y'all probably think this is weird. I stopped, as you can tell, a little bit away. I'm turning this the opposite direction. And this is so that the finish is the way I want it. I'm just creating a shape that I like. And that's it. All right. Here we go. It'll be off to the sewing machine next. I have placed my pocket onto my ironing board and getting my iron ready. This is an important part of the process when it comes to designing. If you iron throughout, it looks way better. This is a cordless iron. It's a Panasonic. I don't remember which brand. I'll put in the details below. I will tell you, it's okay, period. For a regular iron, yes. I am turning the hem of this pocket about a 1/2 inch and pressing it basically in place as best I can. I forgot to put some water in my iron for steaming, but that's a whole nother conversation. Side note, I forgot to tell you how I finished off my pocket hemline. I folded it down by 2.5 inches. That's where I put some knit interfacing, which is Pellon EK130, and I turned it down and serged it into place and then top stitched. If you want more details, drop a comment below. Now I am applying this pocket to the hem of my shirt, or close to the hem. It's about 3, maybe 3.5 inches up from the bottom. I'm pinning it in place just so that I can top stitch it with a twin needle on my Singer sewing machine. I'm using pins so that it stays in place and does not shift. The one thing I did do for the pocket, so that it doesn't bow out so much because it's a very wide pocket, I turned the top edge about 1/4 inch further in so that it would lay a little bit more tautly, period. You will see here that I already have my sewing machine set up with 2 spools of thread. You can see towards the back, they are on thread holders, and I'm stitching the pocket in place. As you sew, please do not sew over your pins. You can break your needle and cause problems with the timing of the machine, period. Just take each one out as you go, and you should be fine. Back at the work table again, I want to make sure that I pin the right things in the right places. So right here, I am actually going to clip my shoulder seams together, and that is all I'm going to sew first, because I may bind my armholes. It's just going to depend on how many pieces of binding I have left over after doing my neckline. Now I am serging the shoulders of my tank top, and after this I will prepare the binding for the neckline. Because I didn't prepare my binding prior to starting, I am doing it now. I need to iron it flat first, because as you can tell, the edges are rolling up and you need it to be flat. Then I'm going to fold it in half. And to have the right length for your neckline, you need to make sure you measure the circumference of your neckline and then match the binding to the length and reduce it between 2.5 to 3.5 inches smaller, so that you have a much more nice fit, and you don't have the wonky look of your binding. Maybe I'll show you an example of what I'm saying in another video. Period. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications. There will be various videos uploaded weekly soon, but not right yet. It's going to take me a minute. Now I am getting ready to prepare my neck binding by sewing the short ends together. Then I will fold it back into half, making sure that I know the center point of the front, of course, so that I can match it on my shirt. I am first pinning the back of my binding first, and it should be smaller. Know that the binding should be smaller than your neckline. Well, I didn't sew the binding for the neckline on here. For the most part, just remember to stretch as you apply the binding to your top, because it should be smaller, period. Then you will, right here, because I don't have enough binding, I am just serging around the edge of my armholes so that it has a better finish and less likely to unravel, because you will see sometimes excess fibers coming off. And so to avoid that, I decide to serge the edge of my armholes. So you would do both sides, because you got two arms, right? Okay, there was a couple things I forgot to tell you prior to me sewing my side seams up. The one thing I did was I ironed the hems up by 1/2 inch and sewed it in place with my double needle. After I finished that, I actually went back to my serger and sewed the side seams up. And then after I did that, I actually sewed and hemmed down both the neckline and the armholes with the twin needle. It's a lot of back and forth on this particular project only because I forgot the steps. But I got it done. Most times you plan it out, you don't do it by a whim. But if you plan something out, it'll take you less time. I'm doing more back and forth because I was trying to record the project and was getting to record at certain times. And of course, times I thought I was recording, my phone shut off, which is no fun. But it still came out to be a really, really cute top. So make sure you stay to the end so you can see the completed project. Now here you can see me turning the armholes down and kind of pressing them in paste. And I'm only doing about a 1/2 inch at the most. I didn't measure it. I just eyeballed it. And that's what I usually do. But I'm just kind of, and it's not a hot iron. My iron is probably only set on a warm setting. It's not even hot. Just kind of just putting a little bit of a crease in it to make it easier to sew into place. When you're getting ready to do armholes or neck holes, as far as stitching, you need to remove your arm extender, base, whatever it's called. I don't remember names. I just know how to sew. Anyway, so you remove that out of the way so that you have less problems with the sewing. So you start underneath the arm when you begin to do this sewing. That way you can hide your stitches. I usually do a back stitch 1 or 2 times, 1 or 2 stitches, and then I go forward. There is a lot of twisting and turning to get to it, but it's okay. And as I'm going, I don't have any pins in it. That is the reason why I pressed prior to starting. That way I didn't have to pin it. So if you press before you actually get to sewing, you don't have to usually use pins. And I just kind of stretch and pull a little bit, not a lot, just to help with placement. And your question also may be what sewing machine I am working on. It's a Serger Stylist 2. I don't particularly like it. Not because Serger is a bad sewing machine, but I don't like it because it's a computer, has a computer on it, and it slows the process because it has to think before it starts. And for me, I like to gun it. So it's a time-consuming issue for me. Other than that, it's a great sewing machine. I like the sewing machine. I just don't like the computer on board. I like mechanical sewing machines, mechanical sewing machines better. So I love my actual industrial machine that's next to me, but no twin needle. Now I have gotten to do the neckline. I am actually stitching my binding in place around the edge so that it doesn't flop, and it has a nice finish to it. I do start at either at the shorter seam, or I will start at the very back, and that's just a choice of mine, no particular reason. Here I have sewn my neckline into place to have a much more professional finish and look. I butted the edge of my presser foot next to the edging between the top of the shirt and the beginnings of the binding so that it lays flat when you see it. You will also see throughout the process, sometimes I will reach through to pull the fabric a little bit, and that's usually due to the bulk of the fabric. That's sometimes where the seam actually shifts a different direction, or it's because I am going over a additional hump or thickness of the fabric, which is around your shoulder, of course, at your shoulder seams. I am happy to say we are done. So let's look at it on the mannequin with all that mess on the floor. But anyway, here we go. Nice little top made out of basically a yard and a couple inches of fabric. It is an extra large. This particular material is a jersey knit, not a stretchy one, but a more of a stable knit. It has the pocket. Still debating whether or not I'm going to do like a snap on it because it didn't lay as flat as I wanted it to, but that's okay. You got nice armholes. Thank you so much for watching this channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram as well as Facebook, where you'll get to see some of my fashions that I create, including my custom wear. Also, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on the notifications so you know when I drop a new video. And you all have a wonderful day.